Sun in Taurus, secrets and psychology. So at the end of this video, you learn about the lesser talked aspects of Taurus. Because every sign has its secrets, things that you don't normally read about, but things that you pick up when you read charts and you analyze people and you study them. Because the time I make this video, the sun is in Taurus in May, so it should be a good time to talk about it. My name is Georges Verbena. I'm a professional astrologer and a psychologist, and I'll talk about Sun in Taurus secrets. Taurus, everybody knows the basic traits. They're about the material realm, so they are about stability. But what people don't know about, esoterically speaking, is that it's about the pleasure principle. Taurus is about pleasure and the divinity in pleasure. The divinity in the lower realm. It's the lower realm. So it's the animal soul. It's animal consciousness, Taurus. It's not human. It's not Gemini. We're still in Taurus. It's still basic. It's so basic, so primitive. It's based on instinct. So if you have any aspects, any planets in Taurus, it's about that. It's about how you integrate instinct in order to ensure long-term survival. Because of previous sign Aries, it's just about short-term survival. How do I do things now quickly? Taurus is about long-term. And what do you do after you have ensured your survival? Once that stability is ensured, then it's about pleasure, comfort, making living as easy as possible. So when you hear, oh, earth sign, so hard working, all about the money. But Taurus doesn't really want the money. No. They want easy living. Easy living, which just so happens to be associated with money. Because the more money you have, the less you have to work. Yeah. Taurus is about maximizing output for input. That's why it rules trading, market deals, getting the most out of a deal, getting the most out of minimal work. The reason why people say the sign is lazy, as is ruled by Venus, which is about comfort, right? Comfort, lazy, is because of this. Minimal work, maximum money. So you see Taurus people, they usually work in jobs where, like I said, they don't have to work very much. But they still work a lot. Because they're very patient and they're always thinking long term. Store my crops for winter. That's why the Taurus is exalted in the moon. The moon is exalted in Taurus because the moon is all about stability to cope with the instability, the shifting tides of the moon. And that shifting, that's exactly what Taurus wants to avoid the most. Out of all signs, Taurus doesn't like change, movement, basically. Because movement means unpredictability. Unpredictability means I can't relax to the maximum. I can't just sleep and be in my comfort. Because the cow, the holy cow, just eats grass, has like 3, 4, 5 stomachs, and just regurgitates everything. Yeah? So Taurus is also about accumulating stuff that you don't need, but using it again. Finding value in that which has very low value. Restoration. That's why they keep everything. That's why they're hoarders. And the sign, what is the divine purpose of something so primitive? Because pleasure is about food, comfort, sex, plush animals. You know, Taurus, they like plush animals. Because if you touch the plush animal, it's very soft, it feels good. Yeah? That's all Taurus really cares about. So they like pets, they're very fond of animals. They're very fond of flowers, things that grow, things that they can look at and that they can admire and they can keep. Because they need to protect it. Yeah? It's a protective sign. Self-preservation is the thing here. Because they hate to lose things. Again, it gets them out of that mode. That's why Pisces, Libra, Taurus, all Venus, and in part Neptune root. It's all about that. To have this oxytocin experience. So again, why is that divine? What's divine in that? Because everybody around you is telling you, no, it's primitive. Stop being the let go of it, that detached Buddhist, con artist, psyop. They'll tell you, let go of your desires, let go of your pleasure. Everybody is anti-pleasure in the society. It's a pleasure suffocation. Oh yeah, but I see all of these sex ads and on the surface. But deep down, you're still repressed. You're repressed as fuck. So don't lie to yourself. Taurus is about bringing it back, but pleasure, to the forefront as the number one priority. But why? Because if you don't have any pleasure, what is the worth of living? What's the point? So first you incarnate Aries. Your first reason for incarnating, Aries in your natal chart. And when you move on into Taurus, that which makes living worthy. So Taurus in your natal chart tells you what makes this incarnation worthwhile. So I have Taurus in the 11th house, which is the house of ideas, inventions, revolution, rebellion, outside of a box authenticity, but also the group mind, friends, networking, the internet. So these things, if I can find pleasure through this, then I guess it's worthwhile. But if I don't have any of this, then what's the point? Yeah. So if I don't rebel, in other words, in some way, if I don't shake things up because 11th house is ruled by Aquarius and Uranus, then my self-worth, my worth for living may suffer. I mean, that's basically how it works in the natal chart, how you read it. Sounds quite abstract, but it's really quite simple. It's quite personal. So it's all about you. So you find your pleasure through Taurus. Again, why is it so important? Because without pleasure, you won't have any reason to maintain your survival, to maintain your stability. Why should you hold on to anything, right? Why should you attach if you can't enjoy what you are attaching to? If you can't appreciate it, if you can't value it? It's about appreciation of life. That's what Taurus is about. If you don't appreciate, of course you're going to be depressed. Of course you're going to die, decay. Taurus is about growth, blossoming of the flowers in its peak after spring. I mean, it's still spring, but it's the harvest time. Ruled by Venus, harvest. You plant the seeds and now you get the crops. And the crops is why you plant the seed, why you come here. You are the seed, right? You come through the seed you have been seeded into earth. This is why you stay. This is your dwelling, physically, through the 5 senses. Taurus, your physical dwelling in the natal chart. So now that you have your dwelling and you appreciate life, now you can maintain it. So Taurus are about maintenance. So they uphold the structure of whatever Aries has been building impulsively. So to make sure that whatever Aries has started does not crash and fall. Because Aries is only good at starting. They don't maintain anything. They get bored too quickly. They move on from one thing to the next. So Taurus maintains. Yeah, Taurus, your bodyguard, so to speak, protects you. So you see these people, they look, they work in places where you have to take care of something, where you have to preserve it, where you have to watch it, where you have to stick around for a while, where you have to be patient, you have to wait. And you can't just move away. You stand your ground. It's like a stone wall. It's very boring if you think about it. It's not very exciting. But you don't need excitement if you have appreciation. If you enjoy what you're doing, you don't need excitement. That's the whole point of it. Excitement comes later. Yeah. This is about the basics of the self, Taurus. What is most essential. And this is exactly what is a principle that is very hijacked for spirituality, modern con artistry. They'll tell you that pleasure is wrong, that pleasure should not be pursued. When actually, without pleasure, you're not going to pursue anything at all, because the drive is lacking without the pleasure. Pleasure gives you energy. Did you know? You get energy if you do what you enjoy, if you appreciate what you're doing. So think about it. If a child plays a game and they like the game, they have energy and they play all day because they like it. You are the same. So it's very important that you actually like what you're doing, because if you don't, there's no way in hell that you're going to keep doing it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So Taurus is really long term. That's why it's a fixed sign. Yeah? It's only through this appreciation that you can stick around. That's why it's also connected to food and food disorders. People who have Chiron in Taurus, they have food disorders all the time, I see it. Because this pleasure principle is blocked. It's blocked. It's like, why should I care about what I enjoy? This has been beaten out of Chiron Taurus people. And this is why they get eating disorders. Because the Chiron and Taurus person initially may think that it doesn't matter if I enjoy it, it only matters if it's healthy, if it's good for me, if it gets me my needs met. But one of those needs is pleasure, and that's one of the needs that has been repressed. So if pleasure is repressed, ironically, lust and addiction are the result. That's the irony of it. The more you repress pleasure, the more you will want and need pleasure. Addiction, food addictions, bulimia, eating disorders, all of this, it's just to compensate for the pleasure that you're lacking. If you take care of your pleasure, if you eat something that you enjoy and appreciate, then through this appreciation, no more addiction. The addiction will just go away. Simple as that. Boom. There's your solution for eating disorders. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, but somehow I don't know how, but we're still living in the dark ages. Yeah, it's quite remarkable, really. You have to think, how the fuck is this possible? But yeah, here we are. Yeah, so much bullshit. The lies are intense and insane. So Taurus is one of those signs where people, you find a lot of lies, a lot of oppression. This sign, it goes under. That's what I see with Taurus people. Taurus people are usually the ones, they try not to be themselves. Because the pleasure principle is who they are. The love is what they bring. Of course, we are in a Saturnian society. So of course Taurus people are really repressed. And that's why you usually see Taurus people very quiet, submissive, because of this. And that's why everybody likes Taurus people, isn't it? Everybody loves Taurus people. Because they're so submissive. They just don't ask for what they want. Because what they want, they feel it so strongly, there's no way that other people will tolerate it. Because other people are brainwashed. Other people are retarded, suppressing the pleasure principle. Because Taurus people will be the ones going out hoeing, going out modeling, going out like dressing really fancy and, you know, this kind of stuff. Because it's Aphrodite. Yeah? The goddess of beauty is Venus. So Taurus is all an embodiment of that. And all of these people are shamed as sluts. As sluts, basically. It's slut consciousness, what people will say. When you say animal consciousness, everybody will be like, that's so low vibrational. The irony is, Taurus, animal consciousness, is one of the highest vibrations you could possibly access. Venus, animal consciousness, the planet of love, highest vibration. Highest vibration, everybody calls the lowest. Like, how fucking retarded. But this is exactly where we are at, yeah? What about Scorpion? Okay, so let's compare Taurus to Scorpio. Because it's an axis, right? Scorpio is opposite. So what's Scorpio? If Taurus is about pleasure, is Scorpio about pain? Because pleasure, pain. Yes, actually. Scorpio is about pressure. To pressure, to change. Is the pressure that builds up the lava in your skin. It's boiling and then that's Scorpio. While Taurus is like, oh, let's just feel the beauty, feel the oxytocin, enjoy, ooh, and stay in that enjoyment for as long as possible. No movement, just stay in it, bask in it, bath in it like taking a hot bath. That's Taurus, a bubbly bath. And then Scorpio is like, jump out of the bath and do something. What do? Change other people. Instead of appreciating people, we change them. We look for the flaw, the vulnerability, the weakness, which needs to change to get to a higher frequency. It's not about love. Yeah? It's not about love for Scorpio. It's about purification. It's harsh, but ultimately it will do far more for you than love ever could. Love doesn't help you if you are an inauthentic, psychopathic, selfish prick. Scorpio is going to get you out of that to come back to reality. Because Taurus is not about reality. Taurus is about art, beauty. It's about fantasy. Because our appreciation of something is very bodily oriented. Lower, yes, it's high frequency, but it's a body. While Scorpio is like, is when the snake rises in the body, while Taurus is the snake sleeping, just petting the snake. It's just a cute little snake. Scorpio moves. Scorpio can control Taurus. It's not easy. Yeah. Well, this is the irony, isn't it? Taurus doesn't want anybody to control them, while Scorpio wants also not anybody to control them either, but Scorpio wants to be the one controlling others, while Taurus just wants to appreciate others. Scorpio wants to control because Scorpio wants to improve. Scorpio doesn't like the way things are. Scorpio goes into its contraction, it goes under and in. It's through this psychic, this lava, this abyss, through this darkness that actually the psychic ability comes out. And Taurus doesn't give a shit about psychic ability. It's not psychic with Taurus. It's just not what it is about, yeah. Taurus doesn't need anything psychic because doesn't need to change anything. Taurus doesn't need to scan other people because Taurus doesn't care what other people are doing. It's very selfish, very like, I'm just me, doing what I want, appreciating what I want this, I like this. And Scorpio always pokes into other people's business. Can't just leave things be. Scorpio tends to be often dependent on other people, enmeshed with other people. Scorpio needs the boundaries that Taurus provides. Because Taurus doesn't give a shit what other people do. This is what actually Scorpio needs to balance out. This not giving a shit. To maintain the self-control. Because imagine a Scorpio who gives too many fucks, then they won't be able to control themselves if they care too much. But if they can choose what to care about and what not to care about, like Taurus does, based on instinct, based on selfish reasons, selfishness, through that selfishness, Scorpio is balanced. And what does Taurus need? Well, Taurus needs to actually give a shit about what other people are doing. Because Taurus needs to understand how other people's actions affect Taurus. And that the only way sometimes to make a difference is for Taurus to take action and to interfere. To actually do go into other people's business. To actually connect authentically to somebody else, instead of just being on the surface and just being on the sidelines. So this is how those two polarities operate, how they can benefit from each other. So that's basically it, yeah. Taurus in a nutshell. So if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.